Welcome back to the Intercourse Show. I am your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very nice show for you. We are discussing a little, I don't know how I would put this, but a little dispute between Anton Daniels, a social media influencer, and Corey Holcomb, a comedian, a very well-known comedian. Now, both of these men are pretty influential in their own right. And they kind of have different political viewpoints and different positions, and are really vastly different men as a whole. Although what they do share in common is, their skin color. These are ideologically two different men. Now, the two men actually came together on Corey Holcomb's platform to have a discussion, and unfortunately, things went left. There was a point where the egos got involved, and at one point it seemed like the two men was about to fight. That's how serious it got. And so this has been causing quite a stir online, because in one way there was a person who provoked the fight with just the way that he was approaching it, and then another way, there was, a little bit of a stare down or like a invitation to go take it outside. And unfortunately, one person didn't have the same energy. So as a result, it's become a viral clip that a lot of people have been discussing it. One of which is Jason Whitlock, who actually brought on Anton Daniels, the gentleman involved in the conflict, to discuss, what happened between the two men. So we're just gonna watch the clip and then react to it.
Anton put a clown suit on Corey Holcomb. This is a 3-minute excerpt from that, the blow up. Want you to watch this, and then on the other side of that, I will interview Anton Daniels.
Male do to America to bring it down.
I'm not getting into that.
You dancing around it.
No,
and that's why I lose respect for you when you start dancing and kissing Caucasian males' ass.
But I don't.
Don't do that in front of me, because I'm not an ass kisser of nobody.
Yes, you are. You suck the black people right now. You doing the easy shit. What you do, let me tell you what you do.
Nah, homie, let me tell you something, homie.
I don't tell you.
I don't suck.
Yeah,
I don't
you do.
suck. So fix
You doing
that.
it right now.
I don't suck.
You doing it right now.
Homie, believe me when I tell you. I don't do that.
I tell you.
I don't do that.
Listen.
So don't come at me with no sucky shit.
I'm gonna give you the same energy you give me.
Let's switch seats. Switch seats.
I'm on the phone right now. Right now, I'm going up back. I don't give a fuck about this shit.
Homie, you just running your mouth.
I'm not running my mouth.
You running your mouth. I don't do
You
no
doing this shit for the
shit.
internet. You doing it for the internet. Now, if you want to say your time, no, hold on. If you want
I'll
to say
show
Anton,
you I ain't doing it for the internet.
if you want to say Anton, listen, don't disrespect me like that. If you want to say Anton, don't disrespect me like that. I'll respect you, but don't boss up on me, because you said a lot of shit to me today that I don't with either. But I let that shit ride because you don't know me. You don't know me. So I'm gonna extend the same respect to you. You called me out of my name. You said some wild shit, especially with regard to how would it call this. I'm telling you that you did. You can't tell me how I get with respect, because you're not gonna do shit.
Come at me with that sucking shit again.
You're not gonna
come at me with. See, I suck again, nigga.
We can go out back right now.
Fuck I am.
We can go out back right now. I'm with it.
I bet you won't say that shit.
We can go out back right now.
I got money for all this. Whatever.
I got money too. Don't nobody give a fuck about that shit.
Hey,
no, it's just not respect.
I ain't falling for that. I ain't falling. Darlene, get out the way. Don't get in the way of two.
But anyway, how would you describe him getting up out of his chair, switching chairs, trying to physically intimidate you and threaten you? And then he folded up just real quick. And I got to be honest with you, it kind of shocked me to see him fold that quick.
It didn't shock me, because what people may not have been able to see is that he was shaking. Like he was shaking like a stripper. Like trying to hold the mic shaking. And you can probably see it if you actually kind of look at it and zoom in. He was scared. And it was a defense mechanism.
Wow.
And so, you know, when we were having a conversation, he was outwitted because I started talking a lot more intellectual about local voting and how that affects communities. And I know that he don't vote. I started talking about culture and the transatlantic slave trade, and he tried to box me in by saying, but you black. And I said, no, I'm a Christian first. You know, I actually believe in Jesus. And so all of this type of, you know, conversation was going way over his head. And so what he would do is he would try to change the subject real fast and then go to another point, go to another point. And we couldn't stay on anything because he kept moving the goalposts as a defense mechanism as to not get embarrassed on his platform. And then, as expected, he threw an insult and said that I like to kiss, you know, pardon my French, white people's ass, white men's ass. To which I then responded with the same energy, well, you like to suck black people's D, right? Now, some people would say, well, Anton, you took it too far, right? And you can make an argument for that, sure. But I also understood who I was talking to and how far he takes it on a regular basis. And I see him disrespecting people, and he had just disrespected me. And you can't, and the lesson there is you can't control how people respond when they disrespect you. You see what I'm saying? So I could have been a bigger person, but I decided not to on that platform because I seen weakness in him. And I also wanted to expose him because he thinks he's a bully and he picks and chooses his targets, which I told him that also. So with him getting up and moving the chairs and all of that stuff, nobody was fearful of it. And it wasn't about being tough or anything like that. But it was like, okay, well, let's just see how far it goes. Let's see how far the rabbit hole goes. And it really amounted to just one of those type of dogs that like to bark on the porch. But then when they actually step out there, when you remove the fence from it, and again, he was shaking and all of that stuff. When you remove the fence from it, it amounted to practically nothing. Even so much so to the point to where I said, listen, we don't even have to keep talking about it. We can go out back if you tough and we can figure it out back there. Because one thing that I'm not going to do, because I know that YouTube don't like fighting. They will demonetize you. They will penalize you. It can go really, really bad. So I'm not going to mess up his platform, and I'm not going to mess up my platform either. And so I'm like, well, listen, we could just go out back. We don't even have to cut the we don't have to cut the stream or anything like that. We can figure it out if you think you're tough. To which I already knew he wasn't going to do it. And he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. He sat back down. He shook my hand. And then we continued the conversation. And at that point, I seen a weakness in him. And so I just proceeded to exploit him. I told him that he was scary, that he picks and chooses his targets, that he's hypocritical, that he was scared of Dave Chappelle. That's why he tiptoed around giving his opinion on a special. I told him that the people around him are yes men, and they just tell him what he want to hear. And
wow. I had to pause it right here just to put a comment in there. It is true. I mean, Corey Holcomb oftentimes is very outspoken, and he tends to speak a certain way. And even though he was woofing a little bit during the interview, to Anton's credit, he did stare him right down and say, look, whatever it is you want to do, I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really got to talk. If the energy is you want to go outside, let's go outside. At some point, when dude put the mic down, Anton stared it down and was like, we really don't even got to talk all this extra stuff, man. Let's just go outside and handle our business. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, that's to Anton's credit. Now, I do believe that the situation calming down was the best situation, the best possible outcome that could have taken place, because, I mean, black people are seen as very aggressive people. I mean, we're perceived to want to fight, and we can't be nowhere. We can't have a discussion without wanting to take it on a physical level. And unfortunately, that's the reputation that a lot of black men have, that at any given moment, we're ready to fly off the handles and fight. And that was been demonstrated in this situation. But as a man, I do think when people start being disrespectful, at some point there is a line that needs to be crossed. I think, to Anton's credit, he made some good points. He said, well, I was being disrespected, and I met disrespect with disrespect. So when Corey said to him, "You kiss white men's butts," and things of that nature, that is a disrespectful thing to say to a grown man who's a father, whose child might be watching the show, whose wife might be watching the show, and to be talked to like that is kind of crazy. So I could understand why that would trigger him. But in Corey Holcomb's mind, him saying that doesn't measure to the same level of him saying, well, you suck black people's D all the time. That was Anton saying, well, if we're going to be disrespectful and you're going to say something crazy, I'm going to say something crazy, and let's see how you like your people seeing you get disrespected on your platform. You know, because clearly we've tossed out all decorum. We just want to talk greasy to each other. So if you're going to say something crazy, then I'm going to say something crazy. And we just going to see where it goes from there. And as you could see, Corey was pounding the table and trying to confront him and trying to intimidate him with his size and all that. And Anton stared it down. You got to give it to Anton. A lot of people wouldn't have thought that he would do that, but he stared it down. And he said, listen, look, we don't really even got to talk, man. If you want to take this somewhere, let's take it somewhere. Let's just go outside and do what we need to do. We shoot the film on whatever it is we want to do, and we can continue on with the interview or keep it pushing. At some point, he was calm, he was cool, he was collected. It didn't seem like he, you know what I mean? He was intimidated, so he was with it, which is what the real ones tend to do, man. Like, there's not a lot of extra talk. It's like, if you're ready to get it popping, let's get it popping. But I do credit Corey for keeping, you know, himself under control, because really, what are you going to fight over some words and stuff like that? Anton was being disrespectful with what he said, but in the same way, Corey was being disrespectful with what he said too. So it's not like it was a one-sided thing. Now, I didn't see the full 2-hour interview. I don't know the fullness of what transpired before all that stuff happened, but Anton said that apparently on all the different things that they discussed, it seems like the goalpost was being moved, and so when the intellectual conversation was not going a certain way, then it got physical, and then the threats and disrespect started to pop up, and it got crazy. Now, even after they squashed it and they shook hands, which I was happy to see because I didn't want to see him get into no tussle or nothing, but you know, Anton was still throwing them shots though, trying to like expose that this dude ain't really that as tough as he portrays himself to be. Now, I'm a fan of Corey Holcomb. I like him. I think he says a lot of times some things that are provocative, but I understand there's an entertainment element to it. The guy's a comedian. But at the same time, too, you know, he does have a little of a persona of a tough guy image, and, you know, he tries to intimidate people a certain way. And Anton was like, look, man, I'm from Detroit. I'm with the shits. Like, I got the money to fight the case. If we're going to go do this, let's go do it. Let's not even talk about it. And if the energy was really like that, it would have gone down, but the energy wasn't like that. So if you just looking at, you know, people woofing and people who's really about it, you got to give a point to Anton in that sense. Like, he stood 10 toes down and was ready to go. At the end of the day, we can say, look, put the mic down, let's go do what we got to do, if that's where your energy's at. But he said he was observing them, and he knew he wasn't really about that life. I mean, if we just going off of this, maybe they weren't. That being said, I don't think he should continue to provoke the situation with this particular conversation, because once this gets back to old boy, and now, you know what I'm saying, now it becomes this bigger thing that may escalate to a point that it shouldn't have to. But that's my view on that so far.
And he doesn't have any real friends, and that's why he continues to alienate people. And so I was very candid and matter of fact, and I didn't pull any punches, and I told him exactly what he was. And once I seen that it was escalating more, and then he started calling me out of my name again, I think that the intelligent thing to do at that point, because I had already made my point, was just to go ahead and walk away.
Yeah, I thought him folding up when you offered him the chance, hey, let's turn these cameras off and find out who we really are, because people with cameras, they perform.
And I told him that too.
Yeah,
I told him, I said, you're doing this for the internet.
Yes. Yeah. The cameras make everybody, and you know, obviously I picked a side here, but I'm just being objective. Hey, let's turn these cameras off and then we can get to the real truth. And he had no interest in that. And
because anybody is tough. You know, everybody can bark loud. And it's not even about winning or losing. And I don't consider myself a tough guy. You know, corporate America, software engineer. I'm a father, married 21 years. I don't have any children out of wedlock. I am, I go to church. So, you know, I understand that people may not necessarily like the way that I say things because the truth is uncomfortable. And I'm open to the possibility that I'm wrong. But at the same time, I also understood who I was talking to and how disrespectful he is. And so I wanted to see just how disrespectful he can get and if he was able to back it up.
Here was the other thing I found interesting, why I find this important. This was important. And I know it was ghetto and I know it was profane and all of that. But someone had to go into that arena and take on that mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's important because that mentality, the mentality that he promotes,
Jason. I'm sorry, Jason,
the mentality we temporarily, I think his camera changed angles or whatever, but someone had to take on that prison mentality. This is a 57-year-old man, Corey Holcomb, that has a clear-cut prison mentality and prison mindset, and that's pervasive all throughout Black culture, and it's popular over YouTube. And someone had to go into that arena and say, man, this is all a gimmick. This is someone intellectually limited who's not nearly as tough as he thinks he is. And so there's part of me that I'm on my Christian journey where I can't be profane. I don't like to use the N-word. And so I'm rooting you on and sitting there like, man, I wish I could. I just can't do it. And there's a part of me that it used to be back in the day, I could have gone in there and, you know, went word for word and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I do think what transpired and what you exposed, and I saw your post-show stream, I think yesterday, where you were trying to encourage people and tell people like, look, man, these people ain't what you think. They're not as tough as you think. They're intellectually limited and they're taking you straight to hell.
Yep. I don't think that any of these people, you know, what we do in our community, and we don't have any real heroes for the culture, right? And I'm not saying that because my hero is Jesus, right? So I look at it from a completely different lens. Regardless of where I am in my journey, the person that I pedestalize, and the word is the word. It doesn't change. It's never changed. So I have a blueprint for what I think success should look like. But we don't have any real examples as far as what we champion in the culture. And that's why I say that the culture is trash. We don't have any real people that we look up to. So we look up to comedians. We look up to athletes. We look up to rappers. We look up to actors. We look up to all of these people. And when you actually interact with them in real life, what you find is that everything about their life is not even a reflection of what they advocate for and what they really say.
Wow, so definitely go check that out. Fearless with Jason Whitlock. It's a good episode. But thought I'd weigh in. Obviously, I'm not a fan of violence. You know, I'm not telling anybody that this is the way that we need to solve our problems. I'm glad no hands was thrown and the guys was able to get out of there without there being a bigger conflict. I think that, too, is not the right example to set. But there are some points to be made, man. Sometimes people are not who they say they are. And sometimes you just gotta fight when I say fight, I mean like sometimes you got to stand up for yourself and stand up for your convictions. I think what he was saying is when you're being disrespected, you know, you can't tell someone how they need to react to the way that you're disrespecting them. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like when you violate someone, you can't say you can only violate me in this way back. Anything beyond doing it this way is a breach of my rights as the original violator. Nah, you know what I mean? So what he was saying is if you saying I got to go kiss somebody, then I'm kissing a certain group of people's butts, then I'm going to say something crazy to you too. And now that your feelings is hurt that I said what I said, or what I said stung you more than what you said to me, doesn't somehow give you the moral high ground now, as if you're the victim. The key is here, just be mindful of what you're saying to each other. Let's not say things that's inflammatory. You know what I mean? Because where does it lead you? Outside in the back fighting, or, you know, online bickering. And it's really not, there's nothing to see here, really. You know, as I said, I'm a fan of Corey. I think he's a decent person. Controversial, but I think he's a decent person. But you know, in the same way, I'm also a fan of Anton. I think Anton's very well spoken, well read, and you know, I may not agree with everything from both of these men, but you know, there are lessons to draw from this particular segment that I think as a man, you got to be mindful of. There's certain things you can't say to another man and not think it doesn't come with consequences, because there are certain button pushing comments that's going to lead and that's going to escalate. So be mindful of how you talk to people. Show the same respect that you expect to receive when you're being spoken to. And, you know, sometimes you got to stand your ground and draw the line. If somebody's going to disrespect you, sometimes you got to address it head on. So that's my takeaway. Obviously, I welcome your feedback. For those of you who are not connected to the show, I ask that you like and subscribe, and you also weigh in on the conversation. Share the video, and you know, let your voice be heard. Until we speak again, have a blessed evening.